Welcome back, everybody, to some more Doom Eternal. I'm the Reaper, and we are just going right back to the Fortress of Doom. Let's get into it. We just barely finished off the final Hell Priest, so let's see what the Con Maker has to say about us foiling her dastardly plans.
The Con Maker has overloaded your systems. Vega has no control over them.
If you had let the culling continue, the human race you fight to protect would have survived. Now I will resurrect the icon of sin. He will devour Earth and leave your homeworld in ruins. Life on your planet shall never return. And this will be yet another world you brought to extinction. This stronghold will now serve as your prison. With no power, you can do no more harm to our mission, and we may continue the work that must be done.
She didn't know you had the demonic crucible. In the end, the very power source you sought to eradicate from Earth is now what will help you save it.
The mission on Sentinel Prime was a success. The demonic consumption of Earth has been stopped.
Only a Slayer's crucible blade can stop a Titan. You must get to the Sentinel city of TARAS, NABAD to retrieve your crucible before it is too late. Without it, the Titan cannot be stopped.
Setting the portal to TARAS NABAD.
With the death of her priests, the blood ritual has been broken. The Khan Maker, desperate for a way to consume Earth, is attempting to resurrect the Icon of Sin under her command. Only the Slayer's Crucible Blade can stop the Icon. To retrieve it, you must journey back into your past, to the city of TARAS, NABAD, where your legend began.
Your crucible is still embedded in the Titan that attacked this Sentinel City. Your first battle against the demons in this world, where the legend of the Slayer began.
TARAS, NABAD. Ooh, that's lovely right there. Holy cow. Vega data entry. The city of TARAS, NABAD was the crown jewel of Argent Denur. For centuries it served as the spiritual heart of Argent society, home to both the royal family and the center of political power. No expense was spared in the building of the city, with bold, colonnaded architecture and towering monuments to gods and kings resplendent on every avenue. Rural Argenta flocked to TARAS, NABAD on pilgrimage to the Maker temples. The city was ground zero of a massive demonic invasion attempt, and although the invasion was thwarted, the attack changed Argenta's society forever.
Site of the first recorded demon attack in Argent. According to the TARAS, the city would have been lost had it not been for the arrival of the Slayer.
I totally meant to switch to the rocket launcher, not the BFG. Ah, crap. gonna lie, that is probably the hardest secret encounter in the entire game. Just so you know, it is just difficult. So, there you have it. Almost died.
It is written that your hatred for the demons gave the people of Argent a newer home, as it does now on Earth.
Alright, History of the Sentinels Part 10. Translation from the Liber Septuaginta, Book of Kings. With the coming of the Slayer, the Knight Sentinels took the campaign deeper into the heartland of the demons than ever before. Mighty Atlans were brought forth, tearing paths through the hordes of hell alongside the Slayer and his army. The high priests, under the guidance of the Mother God, had found means to gain entry to the innermost regions of the demon world, and with the Daeg's presence, new gates could be opened. Our war machines were unstoppable, wrought with maker technology, enhanced with the very essence our enemies hurled against us as our armies drove deeper and deeper into the blood-drenched territory of the demons. Countless victories were assured with the power of the great Slayer, for with the Alpha Interfector at the fore of our pack, we brought certain doom to our foes. And though our hearts were pure and our purpose righteous, unbeknownst to the fighters of Argenta, in our wake and under the veil of secrecy, the Mother God had set her priests to build vast factories upon the heathen's land, that she might gather the essence for further development. How this deception began we would not know, for our focus remained on the hordes of the underworld. Why then would we stoop so low as to consider our Mother God of betraying our covenant? The Khan Maker did not seem at ease with the unforeseen rise of our Slayer, and the Seraphim who had birthed the Destroyer in secret soon vanished from Urdak, perhaps exiled for his heresy. Our legions rose unfettered under the unquenchable rage of the doomed Slayer, and his design led the Khan Maker to find profit in his endorsement. It soon became known that the Slayer was the Maker's god machine, a holy relic reborn, sent to bring the Maker's word to the wicked, and to smite those who would seek to harm all who followed the path of Urdak. With the Slayer unwittingly cleaving a path for her, the Mother God siphoned the essence, processing it beyond our knowledge into the fuel that would come to be known as Argent Energy. The Slayer cared not for polity. He took no interest in the workings of our people, but set his task only on his desire, the destruction of the demons and their world. He no longer spoke for reasons unknown, though it was understood that he still possessed the ability, offering only guttural hefts of anger as he inflicted pain upon his enemies. For years he marched with the Night Sentinels through the fires of the demon lands, and every return to our homeworld found much changed in Argentinur. Should any blame be apportioned to the Sentinels, it is this. In our fervor, we were negligent of our people, and did not see the rising tide of evil our crusade empowered. We knew only the enemy laid before us, and the wealth of Argenta at our backs. It did not pause to seek the cost and method of this progress.
We must move. Quickly. There are those who would seek to stop this. I offer you a gift. Take it. It will give you strength. Help you on your journey. And now, they will fear you.
The Divinity Machine. Vega data entry. Within the infinite conscious matrix of the all-seeing maker-god mind, there exists every potentiality, every predictive variable of possible future timeline, each one known to the Maker Collective with omniscient, inextricable clarity. The God Mind surveys these timelines, watching them form and expand exponentially, like fractal patterns in the fabric of existence. Among these infinite possibilities, only one constant appears among them, unchanged by the flowing data of endless variability. That of the prophesized destroyer, the one that would bring about the destruction of the Makers. Me.
If the Crucible Blade is removed, the Titan will rise.
History of the Sentinels, Part 11. Oh, that's glorious. That's must be in hell. Anyways, translation from the Liber Septuaginta, Book of Kings. Yet, as the Slayer and Night Sentinels battled the demonic host, their failure to act outside the confines of their duty allowed the rancor of the Essence to grip the Argenta. It was on a mission deep within the boiling seas of the Nether Realm, where the Order of the Six reside, that a company of Night Sentinels learned of the Khan Maker's true dealings with the callous beasts. By Maker design, it was kept secret from the Sentinels and Argent people alike that the essence we had grown so reliant on during this war was comprised of the very spirit of our brothers and sisters who'd fallen to these vile creatures. The truth had been uncovered. That all beings who found their end by the demonic horde would become a vassal of the hellscape, their flesh in time twisted into the very demons we fight, their souls extracted to create the essence that powers their world and ours. The victims were the enemy, and the enemy would become us. The soldiers stood in awe at the base of a factory dedicated to such action, a place where the bodies of the slain were sorted and processed, tortured for the mill to have their souls extracted through the sinister magic. Enormous vats of pain and suffering, ethereal energy, the haunting sounds of lost souls awash in an eternity of servitude, transformed into energy to power our struggle against the dark realm and its malice. But worse than this grim reality was the discovery of the machinery which was used to enact the vile process our fallen had been subjected to. For it was not by hoof and claw that this blasphemous technology had come to pass, but by the hand of the Argenta, guided by the Mother God's desires. We had fallen deep within the grasp of the enemy. What we had fought against would not reveal itself to be true, as without countenance we could hold no sway over the Argentan populace. Regardless, the honor of the Night Sentinels would have to hold up the verity of these claims, and the Mother God could be our divinity no more. In secret corridors and clandestine conference, the Night Sentinels would find those amongst them who had similarly distrusted the essence and had foretold the swelling corruption. Once the truth had been shared, the skeptics became members of the Sentinel insurrection, and the breach between holy and unholy Argenta began to grow. I have gotten one of the pain glory kills. I need to do better on doing those. I always kill them too fast, I guess.
Your vault should contain what you need. The world of Argentanur has fallen. Divided, the demonic energy flows now to the south, and the society once new has been replaced by a corrupted world under Maker rule. It did not need to end this way.
History of the Sentinels, Part 12. Translation from the Liber Sultagenta, the Book of Kings. The truth could not be denied. The unholy spires raised in the barren lands functioned by blessing of maker machinery. The Khan had betrayed Argent Denur and had made concert with the demons to harvest their essence, in return granting them access to all the worlds under her influence. A symbiotic relationship that formed, and darkness now had been balanced by a light. For where there was heaven, there also would be a hell. The followers would be granted passage to Urdak, and the sinners would fall into the fiery pit of the dark realm. This word would be spread from all cultures, in all worlds, and in all places. We were not without blame, for it was our people, the priests and sentinel engineers, who'd laid the work in place. Argenta's slaves had built the dark factories, and our own ancient wraith energy helped purify Hell's elixir into the miracle fuel that now powered the Maker's world and our own. The Night Sentinels spoke of the evil brought by the essence, and carried their word to all who would listen. We had helped to create this new dichotomy, and so it must be for the Argenta to stop the spread of this pestilence. For this new phase of existence, the dark and the light, if not for us, then for the innocent whose worlds have yet to fall under the spell of the Maker God and her unseen allies in the Hell dimension. Even when the Night Sentinels returned from the demonic realm with tales of slave factories that damned the souls of the innocent, the indoctrinated masses of Argent Denur took no quarrel with the Makers. They were indebted to the demon essence, the ministers deliberating but finding no basis for change. The messengers were cast down for daring to speak against those who had gifted us so much, our gods. The Makers, in their infinite wisdom, would see fit that the faithful continue life anew in Urdak. They feared the wrath of the Mother God. A lifetime of servitude would not be undone by this insurrection. This was simply another trial, a test of faith to identify those that were truly worthy to experience life eternal in Urdak. The Argenta would not waver in their resolve. The Sentinel Knights prepared for war once again, though this battle meant drawing the blood of their own brothers. Our army had seen the work of the demons firsthand and knew its evil. They had returned to the way of the wraiths, and though their armament was diminished without the essence, it remained pure and righteous. A division amongst the Argenta had occurred. one side standing in opposition to the doctrine of the Makers, the other locked in belief. The Ascended Empire was comprised of the faithful and misled, wielding the desecrated energies of hell, the power of the Makers, and marauders who had sided with the Khan. The Night Sentinels were bolstered by the free people of Argenta and the mightiest of all killers, the Slayer himself. Plans and tactics were drawn. The Sentinels would close the Argent Energy factories in Necroval that was fed the world of Urdak directly with its own supply of fresh essence. They would stop the flow. The slumbering wraiths would wake from their sleep and give Argent Nur courage. History of the Sentinels, Part 13. Translation from the Libra Sulgigenta, the Book of Kings. For years, the Civil War raged and took its toll on the soldiers as their armor laid stained with the blood of their brothers on a cursed battlefield. Finally, an opportunity to end the war had been discovered by the Order Daig and the Night Sentinels. With the Slayer at the head of their army, they gathered to traverse through the gate and sunder Necroval, the city of the dead. The Order of the Daig, the high priests who had pledged their allegiance long ago to the Night Sentinels, worked in service of our mission. These holy priests, who had served the Argenta since time immemorial, assured us that the way was clear. A plan was set to march into the accursed walls of Necroval and smite the factory, cutting off the flow of essence to Urdak and denying the Khan maker of her prize. Our forces took spear in hand and advanced, and it was there that the venom of treachery struck. Upon entry through the Hell portal, the Night Sentinels were scattered to the winds of unplanned chaos. Our warriors were separated, our ranks split as the gates twisted and hurled them across the unholy realm. Some of our warriors appeared near to gates they had walked before, but found that the vile priests had barred the way back. Then the trap was sprung, and each lone Argenta found himself set upon by bloodthirsty multitudes of demonic beasts. Let it be known that it was not the priests alone who failed the northern armies, but one of the Sentinels' own. Hell found his weakness and exploited it to the demise of Argent Nur. If not for the betrayer's stroke of madness, the Wraith's power would still be our own, and the Sentinel flag would still rise above Argent Nur to this day. Alright, so this jump is really hard. I'm probably going to have to cycle back to it a billion times after finishing the level. Hopefully I get it this first try, though. That would be really great. Alright, let's see what we do. History of the Sentinels, Part 14. Translation from the Liber Sultagenta, Book of Kings. Ooh, scusi, wow. Scattered in hell, abandoned by their clergy and reinforcements, the Sentinels proved their worth in what would be their final war with the forces of all evil. Unrelenting power in the face of certain death, the Sentinels crushed hundreds of demons and skewered titans. When their Atlans held no more fuel, the Sentinels took to the ground and fought the swarms on land. All of hell knew of the betrayal, for it was without question the makers and the priests who had sowed the seeds of deceit long before the brave warriors passed through the gate. What hell saw that day was the beating heart of the free people of Argent Denur. They did not flinch in the face of their own certain death. They died as they lived, with sword and shield in hand, Urdak too low a place to house such giants. Theirs would be the fate of warrior gods, remembered for all time. Lord Sash, the stalwart banner sergeant, was found with his war standard pierced through the throat of a great beast, his body surrounded by the corpses of enemies. Rowan the mighty, the light fading from his eyes, had eviscerated such a multitude that their entrails clung to the black rocks like vines. Gore, relentless until the end, had broken his blade on the backs of his foes. By the time he fell, he had slain another 200 with his hands alone. The priests believed the sentinels all slain, but we were Argenta, born to overcome. Rumors deemed heretical by the Order Daig persisted and claimed that the Slayer himself still rages in the unholy realm. None who live can know, for the future of Argent Denur has been bent and twisted by the perverted vision of the essence drinkers. Never again will the light of the wraiths illuminate our world. All is fallen. If the Slayer does live, let him carry our vengeance forward. If he persists, let him wreak havoc on those who have wronged us. May the blood of his sword never dry. May his war never end until the guilty have been punished. And may this evil never again spread its shadow over another world.
I'm sure you'll want to try out your weapon first before we leave.
Alright, here comes a very good fast forwarded bit of me attempting this over and over. Not too shabby, I say. Alright, perfect. Got a trophy as well for completing TARAS NABAD and getting the Crucible Blade. Ooh, Treasure Hunter. What's that one for? Beat all encounters and mission challenges and find... Oh, interesting. Okay, well, what do you know? TARAS NABAD is full of trophies. Combat, of course, we had to do all of that. Absolutely phenomenal. Challenge-wise, the hardest one, of course, Painkiller. Got to get 3 different glory kills. Exploration, we already know how this goes. We got it all. And then, of course, the online rewards. Let the rewards flow. Hardly even anything. Well, anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like, comment your favorite part, and I will see you next time.